Hi everybody, thank you so much for having me to share a few minutes today. My name is Lauren Hichaba and I have been working alongside the Salesians of Don Bosco for 15 years. And I can truly say that not a single day in those 15 years has ever been boring. I play a couple of roles in the Australia Pacific Province. The Australia Pacific Province is Australia, New Zealand, Samoa, and Fiji. I run a long-term volunteer program called the Caliero Project, and I am also our delegate for mission animation. So this Strenna from the Rector Major, it's so beautiful and there is so much to say about it. And I've got my notes all over the camera behind me. So if you see my eyes darting back and forth, but this is good because if I didn't have notes, my presentation would probably be far too long. So today, I guess the main things I really want to highlight are acceptance, the individual journey, and then also our collective journey as a Salesian family and as a human family. And I'd also like to talk a little bit about our work here in Australia and the Pacific by way of example. So the Rector Major in the very opening of his Strenna this year said, "We are called as a family to complete each other." Beautiful. But how do we do that? And I think that us completing each other as a human family really relies on us embracing our diversity. We are a really diverse family. Different cultures, so many different points of view, men and women, religious and lay. And there is so much beauty in that. I think sometimes that can be seen as scary and that can be seen as a threat because when we don't know or understand the point of view of another, there can be fear. But by and large, that is a truly beautiful thing. So since the last general chapter, we know that there has been, key focus on the sharing of the mission between SDBs and laity and the whole Salesian family. And I think really a key in us completing this family is seeing that diversity, embracing it, not as a threat, but really as the most beautiful thing that we have. I think we need to consider the collective and us as a human family and a Salesian family, but I also think we really need to look at ourselves individually, okay? The Rector Major highlights that the yeast is this image of fruitfulness and growth in our hearts of the kingdom of God, and then that directs our mission. But we can only be that yeast if we commit to growing individually. And how do we find this key ingredient that can transform this whole batch of dough? So I think it's through the honesty about our human condition. I think I started as a young person when I started working, and now I'm a bit more young at heart. But I've realized so much over these years as I have matured about acceptance and reality, and looking at and understanding that life is not perfect and life that is messy. The Rector Major says the kingdom of God is still very much under construction. There's so much sorrow, there's so much pain. And if we ignore that sorrow and we ignore that pain and we ignore our flaws, I think this is only to the detriment, because I think it's when we accept and embrace reality, that's when we can really be like Jesus, because we leave space for God. There's then humility in that. The imperfection and acknowledging our imperfection and embracing that individually in our own hearts leads to humility and leads for space for God. And I've seen over these 15 years that even out of the mess, my own individual mess, but also the mess of our beautiful Salesian family and this crazy life, that something beautiful can be made. So there's the individual journey and committing to the individual journey. But I also think, obviously, the kingdom of God is only going to come to fruition through our communal efforts and joining our broken hearts. So here in the Australia Pacific Province, we have a volunteer program, and we've been running since 2008. And I think we've sent approximately 80 long-term volunteers to live in Salesian communities around the world, particularly in our region. And also we've taken young people on immersion experiences. I think kind of a fundamental for us is being welcoming people where they are at, not expecting perfection. Obviously there needs to be the fundamental focus on young people, but how do people come to us and how can we journey with them in their brokenness? The most beautiful thing for us is when people come to us, have this experience overseas in a community, and they come out the other end and they say, wow, I'm Salesian. And this might even be people that don't even identify as Catholic. It's amazing. So, we know religious life and lay life is so different. And gosh, volunteering, we say, hey, why don't you go live together in a really close environment and work together and try and understand each other? And this has its challenges. But this is so beautiful. When a Salesian community opens their doors and opens their hearts to journeying with a person through a volunteer experience, particularly if it's a young person and they can be an active agent and recipient of the Salesian mission. But that community saying, yeah, I'm willing to show you my vulnerability. I am willing to show you where I'm not perfect, and we're going to be on this journey together. I mean, in a volunteering situation, you are living together, you are working together. You see each other as you are. That takes so much courage. And I've seen the beautiful fruits for both Salesian communities and young people and laity who engage in this experience. And we know that the volunteer experience can give a person an opportunity to discover the meaning in their life, which I see time and time again. So the Rector Major says obviously that building the human family is a responsibility of us all. We see this expression of building the human family in my work through the volunteering, through this shared mission. I think I just want to repeat the words that the Rector Major says. Only together, only in communion can we do something significant today. So yes, the individual journey is important, but it's taking that next step as well. Volunteering, beautiful example. There are so many examples. There are so many examples of this communion and us doing significant things around the world in the Salesian family. But we must be willing to ask ourselves the challenging questions. Are we ready to accept our differences? Are we ready to listen to the opinion of the other and embrace our diversity as a gift and not a threat? Are we ready to accept the mess and the imperfection that we have individually and that we also have collectively? Are we ready to accept that this is not perfect and never will be perfect? Are we really ready to be open and honest and vulnerable with ourselves and our entire Salesian family? I repeat again, only together, only in communion can we do something significant today. So those are just my few brief thoughts. I hope they made some sense. There was so many things to talk about in the Strenna. As always, the Rector Major gives us so much to think about. There is so much hope for shared mission and for the Salesian family, and it is such a beacon of light. And let's continue to go in that direction and build this beautiful world and build this human family and hopefully build the kingdom of God. Thank you, everyone.